Welcome back, everybody. Today I will be ranking the remaining teams in the NCAA tournament. We are down to the Sweet 16, and Michigan is still alive. For those who follow this channel, that's my favorite team. And let's just get to it. I'm going to start at number 16 here. And my number 16 team, it's not much of a shock. Oral Roberts. I love them. Great story just for this team to make the Sweet 16, obviously, the second 15 seed of all time to make it that far. And they have two amazing players, Kevin O'Banner and Max A. Smith, or whatever his name, he pronounces it weirdly. But they're still, in my opinion, the worst team remaining. They're the 15 seed, and I doubt they beat Arkansas, although I'll be pulling hard for them to beat Arkansas in their game on Saturday. Number 15 for me, UCLA. They're an 11 seed. They just snuck into the field. They played a first four matchup against Michigan State, and they didn't look great in that game. They should have lost, in my opinion. They beat BYU, who I thought was way overseeded as a 6 seed, and they dealt with Abilene Christian, who had just upset Texas. UCLA is a good team, don't get me wrong. This team shouldn't be an 11 seed. Johnny Juzang has gone off for them in the tournament. But there's 16 strong teams left, and you got to put them somewhere, so I'm going to go with 15 for UCLA. My 14th overall team, right here, Creighton. They're a 5 seed, so they're not low. They're not a low seed, unlike UCLA and Oral Roberts. But I'm not a huge fan of this Creighton team. I thought they would be really good coming into the season. I had them in the Final Four, but Marcus Zagorowski never really got going compared to last season. He didn't play up to Big East Player of the Year expectations, although he's still a great player. Mitch Blalock is an unreal shooter, and this is a talented offensive team, but the offense hasn't been clicking recently. Against UC Santa Barbara, they only squeaked out a 1-point win, and they beat Ohio by 14, but they haven't faced the toughest competition yet, and it's almost impossible for me to believe that they have a chance against Gonzaga. Therefore, they are my 14th team out of the 16. 13, this is where I think the teams remaining, I really believe, all have a shot at the Final Four. But you got to put teams somewhere. 13, Oregon State, the Beavers. They have been really, really good this tournament. In both of their games, easily dispatching Tennessee, and then also making fairly light work of Oklahoma State and Cade Cunningham, even though the game got a little dicey late. They held on to win. This was a team that was outside the top 120 in KenPom back in January. They lost to Portland, among other weak teams, but they've rolled off a dominant stretch of play here, winning the Pac-12 tournament just to make this NCAA tournament, and now beating two top 5 seeds to get to this point, where they will have a decent shot against another low seed Loyola Chicago team. Ethan Thompson is a stud on Oregon State. Their guard play is stellar as well. And if the shooting continues, this is a team that can make the Final Four. I just feel like with a week break, this is a team that is hurt by that more than almost any other team in the field. And they're going to be my 13th ranked team. Number 12. It's hard to rank these teams now. This is a really skilled group, but I'm going to go Villanova for number 12. The Big East has been getting a bit disrespected with all these top 16 rankings, but I do think that the Big East has faced such an easy schedule. These two teams from the Big East, Villanova and Creighton, haven't really played anyone yet. Villanova played Winthrop, who was obviously a lot of people thought Winthrop would get that win because Colin Gillespie's injured, but Jay Wright's too good a coach for that to happen. And then they got lucky. Purdue got stunned by North Texas. Villanova took care of business there. With Justin Moore back, with JRE playing well, and with Cole Swizer shooting well, Villanova is a tough team to beat. They're really good, and they're really well coached. But they haven't played much comp in this tournament, and Baylor is really tough. I don't see Villanova getting by Baylor, but I do think they're better than other teams such as Oregon State, UCLA, and Creighton. Number 11. This is hard for me, but I'm going to go with Florida State here. Florida State is, I thought, a pretty weak 4 seed. Scotty Barnes is good. MJ Walker's good. But they don't scare you in the way that I would have been scared by Oklahoma State. I guess Oklahoma State lost, though, so Florida State hasn't lost. They made easy work of Colorado. They had a tough first-round game against UNC Greensboro. And their offense hasn't been amazing recently, but the defense has been locked down in these past 2 games, holding a really good Colorado offense to 53 points last week. So this is a tough matchup for Michigan. But I don't think Florida State has what it takes to make a run to the Final Four here. I really believe Michigan should win this game. I'm not just saying that. Obviously, anything could happen, but Florida State's my 11th ranked team. I don't see them as a super strong contender. That's not to say they're not good. They're led by a great coach and they have a good core of players, but they're the 11th best team in my opinion. Number 10. I'm scrolling through the Pac-12 here, and I'm thinking about these two, but I'm actually going to go with my number 10 overall team left as Arkansas. That'll be controversial. They're a 3 seed. They have beaten 2 good teams, Colgate and Texas Tech, to get to this point. But I haven't been super impressed with what I've been seeing from Arkansas. Their shot selection's poor. They rely on Moses Moody. They rely on Justin Smith. This is a vulnerable team that should have lost, in my opinion, to Texas Tech. I don't see Oral Roberts beating them, but I do think once they make the Elite Eight, they don't have much of a shot against Baylor. And Eric Musselman's done a great job here. He came from Nevada, where he led that team to the Sweet 16. But Arkansas, give them another year. This is a team that really is going to be good under Eric Musselman. They're good right now, but they're my 10th ranked team. Number 9. I'm going to actually go with Oregon here. They've been playing really good basketball, though, in the NCAA tournament. I guess they've only played 1 game. That's not their fault. VCU had COVID, and that's tough for VCU fans. But I do think Oregon would have won that game anyway. What I didn't expect was for Oregon to come out and just demolish Iowa. Just from every aspect. They were knocking down threes. LJ Figueroa, Eugene Emery, Chris Duarte, they're really great guard. I think he was a 3rd-team All-American. This is a really talented team. Dana Altman, their head coach, always gets the best out of Oregon in the tournament. They've made 5 Sweet 16s under him. They're often underseeded or not underseeded, but they're often a low seed when they make a run, as they are right now at number 7. And they killed Iowa. So, I mean, this is close. The reason I don't have them as high as I will have USC is because I haven't seen the consistency from them all year. They have a potential Final Four quality team, but they also will face Gonzaga likely if they beat USC. So I don't have Oregon higher than number 9. I could see them easily winning this game, though. Number 8, I'm going to go with Houston here. They're a 2 seed, I know they're a 2 seed. But they haven't been super impressive this entire season, in my opinion. The competition, their best win is Texas Tech by far. And against the better teams, this is a team that tends to struggle offensively. It's a very good offensive rebounding team, and it relies on its shooters, Quentin Grimes and Marcus Sasser especially, as well as Dijon Giroux, who played through a hip injury, I think, in their win over Rutgers. But Houston shouldn't have beat Rutgers. That was just a huge choke by Rutgers, I thought. And Houston had 2 close wins over Memphis as well, who's another high-quality team. So I honestly believe Syracuse will win this game. That's not to say Houston won't, but my pick for this one's Syracuse. I think Houston is overseeded at number 2 and is my 8th ranking team. Number 7. Now this is tough, but at number 7, I'm going to put Syracuse. Right back to back with Houston. Syracuse, number 11 seed. They deserve the 11 seed. They didn't have a great regular season. Some people were saying they might not make the tournament. I did believe they should make the tournament. Jim Boeheim always has a way of getting his team to go on a run in the tournament no matter where they're seated at. This year's no exception. Syracuse pulled the minor upset against San Diego State, if you could call that an upset. I had them winning that game in my bracket. I didn't have them beating West Virginia, though, which was a shocker to me and proved to me that this Syracuse team is legit. I would favor Syracuse to make it to the Final Four of this bracket as of now. Syracuse, the other game in that side is Oregon State, Loyola, Illinois, or Loyola, Chicago. But I'm ranking Syracuse below Loyola strictly because they have been less consistent this season. And Loyola just had an unbelievable victory against Illinois. So Syracuse is my number 7 team. Watch out for that 2-3 zone. Watch out for Buddy Boeheim just splashing threes. He's been unbelievable in this tournament. I think he's averaging like 28 points a game on like 55% from 3. So watch for their shooting and watch their zone defense. Number 6. I think we're now to number 6. Loyola Chicago. I think if Michigan doesn't win this tournament, this is obviously the team I'll be rooting for to win. Porter Moser's just an unbelievable coach. He deserves to go to a high-quality Power 5 school if he wants to. And Cam Krutwig, their big center, is a top player in the country. Lucas Williamson was another player on that Final Four team a couple years ago that has blossomed. He was the Missouri Valley Conference Defensive Player of the Year. Braden Norris, their point guard, transferred there from Oakland. He is very skilled. He can hit threes, and he's also a great defensive player, as is Marcus Kennedy. This team is steady, very steady, and just had a brutal attack on Illinois, just defensively, just so consistent, so efficient, ruthless against the number 3 seed in the country. They made Illinois look weak, and that's tough to do. I fully believe they will win this game, and I think that they'll have a fair chance against either of the 2 teams they will play. I do have Syracuse coming out of the bracket, but I had to rank Loyola Chicago higher just because I have been more impressed with their play. All right, we're down to number 5. And number 5, at this point, everything's a toss-up. These 5 teams, I believe, are just really good. But I'm going to go with USC at number 5. They're the 6th seed in their region. I think that's a bit of a slight. They should have been seeded ahead of Colorado, at least, in my opinion, who was a 5 seed. The Mobley brothers are dominant. Drew Peterson and Taj Edey. This team is really talented, and they're coached by Andy Enfield, who got Florida Gulf Coast to the Sweet 16 in 2013. So they have good coaching and a skilled group of players. They just absolutely smoked Kansas by 34. So they're coming into this game on a massive high. And I expect them to win this game. I had them beating Kansas, but I also had Iowa in this game beating USC. Obviously, it's Oregon against USC. It's a Pac-12 matchup. The Pac-12 is having an amazing tournament, obviously. I'm going to go with USC over Oregon in this game, and I believe USC is one of the best teams left in this field with a potential number 1 overall pick in Evan Mobley and just a solid group of guys. Number 4. I'm not going to lie. Number 4 for me is between the 2 teams in the East region, number 1 seed Michigan, number 2 seed Alabama. I have to be honest. I think Michigan is the number 4 overall team below Alabama right now. And that's not to say I don't have them in the Final Four. I do. But I'm just stating what I think is the outlook right now. Michigan didn't look super hot against Texas Southern and struggled against LSU early on before really playing well and battling for that 8-point victory. The problem here for Michigan is that the depth isn't what it used to be without Isaiah Livers, and that's no fault of anyone. Injuries are terrible, but it's out of their own control. If Eli Brooks and Chauncey Brown can go off every game, Michigan is a definite Final Four team, but that's yet to be seen. I do believe Michigan can hang with Florida State. Florida State doesn't have a high-powered offense, and that should be a comfortable game for Michigan. I'm not saying they'll win, but that should be comfortable. Alabama won't be comfortable for Michigan. They're my 3 overall team. They had a bit of a struggle against Iona under Rick Pitino, but this team can just shoot the lights out when it gets hot, and it has one of the best defenses in the country. Herb Jones, he's a lengthy forward. He can do basically everything. I think he's an NBA player. Javon Quinterly off the bench, the former Villanova guy. I can't remember this dude's name. Elo is his last name. I can't remember his first name. And John Petty Jr. make up a real good core of guys. And Alabama just was so impressive in its win over Maryland. I had Maryland winning that game, but the way Alabama shot, I think they hit 16 threes. There was no chance for Maryland there. If Alabama keeps shooting that way, they're the Final Four favorite in their region. Number two overall, I don't know, man. It's between Gonzaga and Baylor, and I have Baylor winning the national championship. So this is gonna be controversial. I'm putting Gonzaga at the number 2 overall team remaining, and they haven't done anything wrong. I'm just basing this off what I think will happen. I think they will play Baylor in the national championship game, and I think they will lose. This team is so gifted offensively that it doesn't really matter how they play on defense. They just put up 85 plus points like every game because they have 4 NBA level players on their team. So no one can really stop Gonzaga. I do believe Baylor, once that game happens, has the personnel not just to stop Gonzaga, but to hang with them and actually beat them. But that remains to be seen. And I have Baylor at number 1, obviously, because I just said that. Led by Jared Butler, Davion Mitchell, Mark Vital, and then reserves Jonathan Chama Chachua, Matthew Meyer with his mullet, and Adam Flagler, the transfer. So I think it's clear 1 and 2, Gonzaga, Baylor. 3 is Alabama, 4 Michigan, 5 USC, and 6 Loyola, 7 Syracuse, 8 Houston. Let's see who I had. 9 Oregon, 10 was Arkansas, 11 Florida State, 12 Villanova, 13 Oregon State, 14 Creighton, 15 UCLA, and 16 Oral Roberts. There's my rankings. Thank you guys for watching. I will see you guys next time. And yeah, peace.